We'll just take another moment while people are coming on. Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the first ever International Sustainable Laboratory Award Winner Showcase with our international winners. I'm Kathleen Brady. I am the Executive Director of I2SL, and as you probably know, we have a Sustainable Lab Award winner award program. And this year, while we were at our conference in St. Louis, we honored a number of winners. The Sustainable Lab Award program recognizes the projects, the programs, and the people who work on improving and promoting sustainable labs around the world. And during our conference in St. Louis, we were able to honor those who were in the United States, but we had a number of international winners this year. Overall, we had 5 projects that were honored, 5 programs or initiatives, and 3 different people or teams. So without further ado, let's get into our webinar where we'll hear from some of our international winners today. Before they start speaking, I'm going to go over a few housekeeping items. Those of you attending the webinar are muted to minimize background noise, and you will be able to submit questions though, but if you could please use the Q&A box at the bottom of or wherever that is on your screen, you are welcome to ask questions. I believe it's a Q&A box. It might be in the chat, so I can't see it, but I think you all probably have a Q&A box. We will take questions at the end of each presentation. So if you have a question for a particular speaker, please do ask it while they are speaking, because as you know, they're coming from Europe and the UK, so they are ready to get home and get back to their families. So we'll let them take questions after each presentation. If you're having any technical difficulties hearing or submitting questions, you can also use that Q&A box to submit any technical difficulties that you have, and our Zoom host, Michaela, will help you troubleshoot that. We are recording this webinar. I know there's usually a question about whether you can watch afterwards, so that we'll definitely be posting it on the I2SL website and the Circular Economy for Labs Community Practice website as well. So you will be able to hear what everyone says afterward. So we're just going to go ahead and get started now with our first winner today. Is the overall winner in the Lab Programs and Initiatives category. This is a category that recognizes efforts by laboratories and or their suppliers to reduce waste and be more efficient and do all kinds of things that are helping with the, can we put that slide back up, Michaela, real quick? With the sustainability of labs in a variety of ways. And our winner for the overall award, if we let's see, maybe I have that. Michaela, can you put that slide back up? Thank you. Is the European Molecular Biology Laboratory, or EMBL. This is a group that supports life science research for scientists from 6 different locations across Europe. And I'll give you a few examples while Brendan pulls up his presentation about it. They, for example, introduced recycling bins in 2023 for all different kinds of materials, including cardboard, paper, plastic, and metal, and they recycled over 66 tons last year. They introduced pipette tip box recycling at their headquarters. And they also work to get certified through the Laboratory Efficiency Assessment Framework, or LEAF. They had a goal in 2023 of having all 82 labs sign up, and which they achieved, but 61 of those labs also received LEAF certification. They've also done a number of activities to reduce energy use across, for example, their data centers, and have significantly reduced electricity last year by 4.4 million kilowatt hours. So without further ado, I'm going to let Brendan Rouse, the head of sustainability for EMBL, talk a little bit more about what they've been doing to earn this award. Brendan?
Thank you, Kathleen. If you could just confirm that you can see my slide, okay?
Yeah, yes, they're coming through great. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you, Kathleen, and also Michaela for organising today's event, and of course I2SL for our award. You know, it was a great opportunity for EMBL to present the progress we've made on sustainability, also to a new audience coming from the other side of the pond, and also really grateful for the award itself. It was a real honor. So just quickly about myself, I am the head of sustainability at EMBL, and I'm kind of tasked with delivering our sustainability strategy in partnership with Marta, who's also on the call, our sustainability officer. Now, I myself class myself as a sustainability professional, so I've been delivering kind of in-house sustainability for almost 14 years now. I started out in a children's hospital based in London, before moving into corporate real estate and working for a very large office and shopping centre company in the UK, before moving to EMBL, actually in March 2020, which oddly enough was the day that the campus and the organisation went into lockdown. So I've had a very interesting start to my life in Germany, but you know, that was almost 5 years ago now, so it's old history. So moving on quickly, just to give you a bit of background about the organisation. So EMBL stands for the European Molecular Biology Laboratory. It is Europe's only intergovernmental laboratory for life science research. And when we say laboratory, you know, this is a collection of 82 wet and research labs spread across a number of sites. So we call that a laboratory in our title. You might think of it more of an organisation really made up of smaller individual labs. So there's about 2,000 people working at EMBL, and we are funded and governed by 29 member states. And we maintain strong relationships and collaborations with scientists in those member states. And we have 5 missions that we are pursuing, so that we do excellent research with over 700 publications published per year. And a large percentage of those are done in collaboration with organizations in our member states. And our research spans all scales, so from molecules through to ecosystems. We deliver scientific services, so this is experimental services and data resources. So on the experimental side, almost 9,000 annual users of those services. And then there's a mind-blowing kind of figure that we have 101 million web requests to our data services per day throughout last year. So really heavily used services there. We provide training, so we have scientific fellows and visitors, and a very strong courses and conferences department with over 8,600 participants of those courses and conferences per year. And we also have a role in delivering innovation and translation, so getting life science research industry ready, and also integrating the life sciences across Europe using our reputation and our networks. As mentioned, we operate across 6 sites. So the biggest site is where I am here in Heidelberg. So this is where we have a lot of research groups, plus a number of scientific services, an imaging center, and also where we have our conferences, etc. And then another very big site in Hinxton near Cambridge in the UK. This is EMBL EBI. So this is the European Bioinformatics Institute. And then 2 structural biology sort of centers, one in Grenoble and one in Hamburg. And then we also have sites in Barcelona and in Rome. So we are spread across Europe, which is very relevant really to delivering sustainability. So I quickly want to talk about our sustainability strategy. So when I joined EMBL, so back in March 2020, and you know, everybody was at home because it was lockdown, and when the notice went out that EMBL now had a new environmental officer, the first time that EMBL had this role, I was really, I don't want to say bombarded, but received a lot of emails from our staff base with ideas of what they thought EMBL should be doing to be more sustainable. And you know, it was quite inspiring, and it was great to see the enthusiasm of our staff. But on the other hand, you know, it's impossible for a single person and with limited resources to deliver, you know, what everybody thinks sustainability in a life science organization means. And so we undertook an exercise during lockdown called a materiality assessment. This is quite common when delivering or developing sustainability strategies, and it really helps the organization to focus down on the key topics. So we asked the consultant to help us with this piece of work, and we interviewed a number of internal and external stakeholders. So 5 external stakeholders being major funders, member states, the local council here in Heidelberg, other organizations, life science organizations that we thought were leading in this agenda, and internally staff across all levels of seniority with different levels of interest in sustainability. And we interviewed them to basically get them to score the number of environmental topics, as you can see in this slide, based on the organizational impact of those topics. So basically, do they have a big reputational impact or a big financial impact on the organization, as well as the impact that the organization has on them. So how big is our carbon footprint? How much waste do we generate? Is it a local issue or a global issue? And finally, how much interest do those stakeholders already show in those topics? And so each of these topics are scored, and based on those 3 criteria, we end up with this materiality matrix that you can see here. And what we're hoping to do is to get a number of topics that kind of form in this top right-hand corner, so they score highly in all of those 3 areas. And we decided to draw this line where we sort of decided what was a material and what was immaterial. So these 7 topics in the top right on the right-hand side of the material line are ones that we've taken forward for the strategy, and the ones on the left are not part of our strategy. But with those ones that we took forward, we put those into what we're saying are the 3 pillars of sustainability at EMBL. So, I mean, I think this is what sustainability for a life science research organization should look like. It should be built upon a pillar of doing environmentally responsible research. And at EMBL, we have these 4 topics included in there. And then there's a really important pillar that we do environmentally relevant research. And actually, this was shown that the biggest impact that EMBL can have and does have isn't through reducing our carbon footprint, for example, but it's actually the research and the knowledge that we generate ourselves to help, move the world to a more sustainable future. And the final pillar is promoting sustainable science. For today's chat and presentation, this second pillar isn't so relevant, but we'll be looking primarily at the first pillar and touching on the third pillar as well. So finally, then in the strategy, it's also really important that we set long-term ambitious targets for ourselves. And so we set 2 carbon footprint targets that were aligned with the Science Based Targets Initiative and our ambition to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, as kind of silly as that sounds right now. But that meant that we had to target a 50% reduction of our carbon footprint by 2030 compared to our 2019 baseline. So that's what we've done. We've got 3 waste targets, so that we want to eliminate non-essential single-use plastic by 2025. We want to have a 90% recycling rates for the waste that we do generate and dispose of, but we also critically want to reduce the amount of waste that we generate. So a 20% reduction in our total waste generation, again, by 2030 compared to 2019. And finally, for this sustainable construction, we have a target that 10% of all project budgets should be dedicated to sort of sustainable design and principles. So how are we doing? Well, on that first target, the scope 1 and 2 emissions have been reduced by 23%. This is 2023's figure compared to 2019 baseline. You can see on the chart here that progress. So there's a very obvious kind of drop and then increase during the lockdown, and then the bounce back or the rebound in 2021. But then you can see kind of 3 good consecutive years of very good carbon reductions. And the yellow bar there is what we aim to be at by 2030. So how have we done this? Well, I have to give a lot of thanks to our facilities management and administrative teams across our sites, because over those years since 21, we've made some pretty unsophisticated or blunt changes to things like our HVAC schedules. So reducing winter set points, increasing summer set points. So heating less in winter, less air conditioning in the summer. And also extending things like out of hours services and those. Now, these measures were initially adopted during the energy crisis of 21-22 as a response to that, and we really used that crisis to help us make changes that we wanted to be made. But those have really become kind of the new normal now. We also removed hot water from hand washing sinks and did things like dimmed lights in corridors. So lots of kind of low cost, no cost measures, these low hanging fruit that people talk about. We haven't done anything fancy to air exchange rates or installing energy efficient equipment. This has all been done sort of no cost, low cost. Another huge saving has come from our IT services team, who've done an incredible job reducing the electricity used by our data centers by 10%, even though the demand on those services has risen over that time, and we predict will continue to rise as computational research becomes bigger and bigger. But they've implemented changes such as automatic node shutdowns, consolidating and deleting data, migrating our services to more energy efficient data centers. And all of this is really, really important because our data centers are by now the biggest single user of electricity across the organization. So there are things we can do to check that these savings are kind of real and have been delivered because of the work we've done. So if we look at the amount of energy we use over that period compared to the number of staff that work at the organization, or the size of the campus, or the number of publications that we're part of, you can see that these have all been trending down since 2019. So that's, very reassuring for us. And the other thing we can do is to calculate the impact that our savings have made to show that this isn't being done as a result of other factors. So we've calculated the impact that the increase of our campus size has made, the different kind of annual weather or climates for the years 2019 and 2023, and also the improving carbon intensity of the electricity that we buy from, the UK or the German electricity grids. We see that these all have an impact, but the biggest impact has come from the saving measures, the energy saving measures that we've made, accounting for over 3,000 tons of CO2 in that year. Looking at waste, 2023, we really made an impact on our waste management. So we introduced dedicated recycling streams for laboratories, including a tip box scheme. And we can see there that then we've managed to actually now increase our recycling rates to over 30%, and also a 30% reduction in our residual waste volume as well. So those are both really, really pleasing. For business travel, we've seen a 40% reduction of our business travel. So you can see the big impacts in this kind of roller coaster that business travel emissions have been on due to the lockdown, where it was down to almost zero. And I'm acutely aware that since then there's been this annual growth. So it's something we still need to focus on and be conscious of. And we do have a new travel policy in draft form that we like to release, but we can see that we're still 40% below pre-pandemic levels. So a lot of that behavior that was adopted during the pandemic is still there with our staff base, and that's great to see. We also do other measures to reduce the impact of travel in general. So whether that's providing subsidized buses to staff in the UK, we've got lots of EV charging facilities. We have an e-bike hire scheme for our staff in Heidelberg. We provide discounted rail travel to visitors to our conferences, etc. Lots of just little measures that we're trying to do to reduce the impact of travel. Finally, then, for our construction activities, so this is really the only building that's been built since that strategy was launched. So it's a kind of an example of the strategy in progress. And this is the Thornton building, which is actually due to open next week in Kingston. And we managed to design and build out an office building here with 2 levels of timber frame, so a glulam and CLT panels. It's on a concrete basement, but there's lots of sort of sustainable design gone into this. So whether or not it's the big central light well, bringing in natural light, biophilic design principles, fully electric heating sources, solar panels on the roof, air tightness testing, lots of really nice sustainable design has gone into this. And so I think we're really proud of this building and looking forward to it being open next week. So we've got 5 more minutes. I want to quickly talk about the culture of sustainable science that we've tried to nurture at EMBL. And I always like to think of behavior change as being about barriers and motivations. So, we needed to align ourselves to the motivations of our staff. Otherwise, behavior change will never happen. And the nice thing at EMBL is actually the environment is already a motivation. So 93% of our staff, when they were surveyed in 2019, already said that EMBL needed to address climate change. And I think they do a lot of that at home in their personal lives, but when they come to work, it's not as obvious. Research methods are not adopted, changed, or modified without very good reason. And I like this quote here, which I actually just heard on the radio, and they were talking to a sustainability professional about how society isn't making the necessary changes despite all of the climate crisis that we see around us and the impacts. And he just came out with the statement that inertia is the strongest force in the world, which I don't think Isaac Newton has as one of his laws, but I think, in the life science research context, it's really important. Actually, inertia is difficult. People are very much stuck in their ways when it comes to research practices. And so we need to break down some of those barriers to sustainable behavior if we want some of those behaviors to be changed. And so at EMBL, we've used LEAF, or the Laboratory Efficiency Assessment Framework, to do this. LEAF is a brilliant behavior change tool for a number of reasons, which I'll talk about. But anyway, we launched this in the end of 2022, in the summer of 2022, with the aim of having all of our labs signed up by the end of 2023, which we managed to achieve. So 82 wet and service labs across EMBL all signed up. So far, we have 7 labs that have been awarded a gold, 31 with a silver, and 25 with a bronze. So the reason I think this is a great tool for behavior change is because EMBL took this decision to launch this as a kind of a top-down decision. Suddenly we were giving staff permission to change their behavior, to align themselves to this criteria, which is one, I think, really key barrier that we saw to behavior change, was that staff felt that they weren't empowered to make the change. So that was one thing that this enabled us to do. The other thing, quite obviously, is the criteria tells our scientists what behaviors they should be adopting to be more sustainable. And that was another thing we heard, was that lots of staff really want to be told what they need to change in this pursuit of more sustainable science. So LEAF gave us that. It introduces a competition, a bit of gamification, which for some people is a really important motivation. If they see one lab getting a gold certificate, that's a real motivation for them to also try to achieve that. So that's great. And it provides a recognition of sustainable behavior. And that's another thing we know, that for some people, it's very important that they do get recognition for changing their behavior. So this has been really successful. Another thing is, within that year of awards, 81 labs were audited in 2023. That means there were 81 conversations between the Sustainability Office, primarily Marta, and the labs themselves. And that's 81 times where we're reinforcing the message, breaking down barriers, finding solutions. And so that's really important. From the back of this, we have seen significant behavior change. So more than 70% of our ULT freezers have been turned up to -70, which is something that I was told would never happen when I joined EMBL. And it also showed us where we needed to provide better services to enable our labs to achieve the certification. So we provided guides, so laboratory guides, nudge resources like stickers and posters for the place, provided new recycling facilities and waste streams. But other teams within the organization, non-site research teams, have also stepped up. So our lab kitchens have really been accommodating to any labs that wanted to move back to glassware for some of their experiments and clean and sterilize that. Our scientific instrumentation maintenance team, who usually are repairing scientific instruments, actually provided energy audits for laboratories who were taking part in LEAF. And our stores have worked with us to roll out a kind of a recommended sustainable product for the things that we hold in stores, again, so staff can easily see which are the more sustainable options for them. Another beautiful example of this behavior change is this art work that was done from a number of our teams in Heidelberg, where they converted an existing water feature into this waterfall of tip boxes. One, to show how many tip boxes were being generated in our work, but also all of the tip boxes used here were collected in 4 weeks that would usually be sent to be recycled. So it was also that awareness of the recycling facilities that we provided. So this was part of our Green Week. It got a lot of interest, lots of conversations happening around the site, and is a good example of that. So I just want to say thank you to the team here who delivered that, and also to Rixus, who are a local plastic wholesaler who helped set this up. My final slide is about our promoting sustainable science work. So one of our things we've dedicated to do is to be open and transparent and to report about our sustainability work, to do a lot of outreach. So we contribute articles to different journals and blogs on our website. And then there's these 3 really important networks that we are part of or help set up. So CELS, which is Sustainable European Laboratories Network, European Laboratories Network, aims to have a green group in all European countries, and for all of those green groups to work together in cells to share knowledge, to help each other, to help fill in the gaps that we can see on the map here. So at the moment, we have members from Ireland, the UK, the Netherlands, Austria, Catalonia, and Portugal, as well as European kind of organizations, ourselves, EMBL, and the Fence Cavalry Forum. There's the cells network. If you search for it in Google, you'll find it on there. We helped set up a kind of a lab group for Heidelberg because we have a lot of research organizations here in the city. And also we're part of a group of sustainability people on the IRO Forum, which is the different European scientific infrastructures. So CERN and the European Space Agency, etc. So we share knowledge there. I realize I'm probably out of time. So just to, again, thank I2SL. Our website is shown on there, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
That's great. Thank you so much, Brendan. And yeah, we are running a little behind. So there's one question for you in the chat if you want to go in and answer it directly, and then I think people can see that. And also, thank you so much. The waterfall of pipette tip boxes and all these other efforts is all these reasons that you won this overall lab programs and initiatives award. So I hope people got inspired by that. Our next folks are also received a lab programs and initiatives award, and it was specifically for partnerships in education, and that's the Green Labs Netherlands Foundation. This is a group that was created by Green Labs for professionals in the Netherlands in 2021. Since then, they've really grown in our sort of building partnerships and educating people, not just in their own country, but across Europe. They've organized the second Sustainable Research Symposium, which had 230 attendees from 26 countries. They've developed free interactive e-modules focused on things like data management, energy reduction, waste reduction. And they're helping over 15 Dutch institutions implement LEAF certification, and they've resulted already in 120 labs obtaining LEAF certification. So let's let Florijn Dekkers, who's the scientific coordinator of Circular Safe Hospitals at the University Medical Center, Utrecht, and Joep Sprangers from the Sustainable, who's also from UMC Utrecht, the Sustainable Labs coordinator there, tell you a little bit more about why they won this award.
Yeah, thank you very much for the introduction. I hope you can all see the Green Labs NL slide now.
Yes,
okay,
looks
that's
great.
Well, thanks a lot for this award. I think we're all very honored that we get international recognition for all the efforts and dedication of everyone in this team. And we will tell you what we are doing and what our initiatives are. So we were founded in 2021 to support also the rise of other green teams and grassroots initiatives. And yeah, we are in a team now with all these people from across all over the Netherlands, and we also have a lot of different roles in education, still working in the lab or actually being lab coordinators. I think a lot of you are here, so please turn on your camera, because I think it's very important to recognize that this is really a team effort from all of us here and on the screen, and previous members that we are where we are. So I'm very thankful that I can work with all of these inspiring people. It is our mission to accelerate the transition towards a just and sustainable laboratory environment and scientific landscape in the Netherlands and beyond. And because we know that it requires really a systemic change to do this transition and include all the stakeholders, they need to act. We don't only focus on the scientists and lab users, but also on the future professionals. So really focusing on educational innovations, but also the funders, because they also should take a significant role to support this transition. Me and Joep will present today. So I've been working in biomedical science for over 10 years. And since 2 years, I dedicate now all my time to focusing on sustainable labs and healthcare. Because I really saw the flaws of the system and didn't want to work in it anymore, but try to change it. So I will now hand over the floor to Joep, who will do the first part of the presentation.
Yes, thanks, Florijn. Hello, everyone. So indeed, my name is Joep Sprangers. I also, just like Florijn, have a background in cancer stem cell biology, so a biomedical background, just finishing my PhD. But along the way already started working on Green Labs initiatives and joined Green Labs NL over a year ago. And I also work in the UMC Utrecht as a sustainable lab coordinator. So next slide, please. Just to tell you a little bit, it was already a bit introduced that, well, in the US you have My Green Lab. Also in Europe, there are more and more initiatives nationally and also on the Europe level arising. So we are one of them, but more and more countries will have this. And CELS was also briefly introduced. So we are really also aiming for more international collaboration. Next slide. So back to what we are doing. So I'll just highlight some of the projects that I've also been involved with recently. So as we are a national platform for lab sustainability, our main goal is to build a community. So what we are doing is we give talks and workshops at events and conferences. So you can see a little overview on the pictures on the right. But also we organize community meetings, about 3 or 4 per year, where we usually highlight one specific Green Labs topic. But we also give members of our community the opportunity to highlight some of the projects that are ongoing locally, to share them also in an early phase. And we have various platforms where we share knowledge, ideas, and ongoing projects. And here you see an overview of the resources page on our website. But I can say that our website will very soon get a major upgrade. So keep an eye on the website early next year. Also, these resources will be updated. So one of the projects that we've also been involved with in the past years is LEAF. Also, LEAF was already briefly introduced in the previous presentation. So it's one of the lab accreditation systems for sustainability. And in 2021, with some government support, Green Labs NL started piloting LEAF in 4 institutes in the Netherlands. And after a successful pilot, we moved on to include more institutes. So we included hospitals, research institutes, and universities. And last year, we also expanded even further, focusing on specifically the university medical centers, so the UMCs, really trying to have all of them start working with the tool, which was also successful. And actually last week we heard that we can continue our efforts in the hospitals, because these hospitals are also, they signed the Green Deal Sustainable Healthcare, and LEAF is really in line also with those goals. And also more institutes are interested in applying. So until now, there's over 20 institutes working with the tool or are in the process of applying, and over 120 labs have now received LEAF certificates since that we started rolling it out. So another project that we recently started working on is to promote animal-free science. So in Utrecht, we have the 3R Center, so from Utrecht University, where they really focus on reducing, refining, and replacing animals in our scientific work. So some of their initiatives are, for example, a serum-free database that you can access via this link. So of course, for a lot of cell culture, we are still using serum, which is a very unethical product derived from fetal calves. But they have on this website a whole list of all kinds of cell lines that you can grow in chemicals that are serum free. And this also is frequently updated. So I think it's a very useful resource. And they also have other projects ongoing, such as a gel-free database, where they focus more on the gels in which 3D cultures, so stem cells and organoids, are grown. Those are also derived from animals. And there's also alternatives for that. So they are developing a tool for it. And more companies are starting to offer animal-free antibodies. And we are also involved testing those antibodies. So we really embrace their work and collaborate here as well. And then very briefly, some other things that I have been involved in. Of course, as Florijn said, it's really a team effort. So this is it's not just us, but the whole team. So we're working on our website, because that's really our central hub for information on projects, updated resources, and news items. We're working on more closer international collaborations with similar Green Labs initiatives. We're working on publications and guidelines on freezer and data challenges, so to clean up freezer space and storage capacity on servers. We have a project on sustainable fume hood usage and lab ventilation, where we can also really make a large impact. And we are also working on expanding our community to other research fields, such as the diagnostic labs in hospitals and for example, the chemistry labs. And I will give the word back to Florijn, who will tell a bit more about our work on education.
Thanks, Joep. So what I've realized working in this field for some time is that most people, that they actually want to change, but they really want to be empowered. They want to know how. So this is why we also focus a lot on education, to really equip students and professionals with the knowledge and skills to actually perform their science and their lab work in a most sustainable way. So these are the tools that we, together with the UMC Utrecht and a lot of other experts and organizations, helped develop, which I will go over to give a little bit more detail. But the first one you can access already via the QR code, which is already open access online that you can do. And the other two tools will become available soon. So the first one is really focused on laboratory research. And we highlight all these relevant topics. So it's an hour e-learning where we focus on circularity in the lab, so waste, animal-free research, Green Labs community, energy. And we start with actually going through the experimental cycle and really provide guidance with all these steps within the cycle. What can you now do in your planning, execution, etc., to do it in the most sustainable way? So here you have an example where we let the people choose between what is the most green option, comparing, for instance, filter tips or tips without a filter, but also focusing on data processing. What is actually the digital footprint of a scientist? What are all the activities that relate to that, but also what are the handles and the tips that you can do to reduce the impact of your data and computing? And as Joep also already mentioned, focusing on animal alternatives. So one of the extreme or the examples that we give here is that fetal calf serum that a lot of scientists use. It takes 2 million fetal calves per year to produce the amount that we need in the lab. So this is also a starting point, the urgency, and then we provide alternatives to that, but also focus on, what can you do? Provide handles to not get too anxious about everything that is happening, and let people really focus on their circle of control instead of focusing on the circle of concern. And we also provide some questions to let people get this insight. And the second e-learning is more broader, just and sustainable science practices. And what is nice to note, this is also for the previous e-learning, is that these scientists, they go to Planet Nova, where actually science is already being performed in a just and sustainable way. This is where they learn and they take back the knowledge to Earth. And here we focus also on various topics, such as, throughout the research cycle, what are considerations to do your science inclusive, embrace also diversity, ecological sustainability. What are our biases that we have in science, and what can we do to minimize them? One other theme is, as already mentioned before, data in computing, and also embracing open science principles. So these are the e-learnings, and also we help develop this guideline, socially responsible biomedical research, that basically provides a checklist throughout all the phases of the research cycle, that helps you to do your science in a socially responsible way. So taking into account inclusiveness, diversity, and also ecological sustainability. Finally, as said, we also focus on the funding landscape, because they mainly provide us the money, so they have also a lot of power to help us change. This is why we organized the international event, where we brought together 14 funders from over 3 countries to discuss about what role they can take in the transition. And well, this led also to a recent publication that shows insights in what actually funders do, and also a list of relevant reading material about what funders are doing and can do. And then there was this follow-up event organized by EMBO that also led to this publication, the Heidelberg Agreement, that actually provide guidelines for funders what they can do. And I think this is really an important milestone, because it really shows that funders nationally, but also internationally, are really taking this serious. And we are, as Green Labs, are now contributing. We contributed to this document and are also one of the endorsing organizations. So with this, I would like to finish, and again, thank all the members and all the people involved in our projects, and also I2SL for providing us this award. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. For those of you who are on from the Netherlands, please feel free to turn on your cameras. We'll give you a virtual round of applause. So this is some really exciting stuff. Some really great efforts, and not just in sort of the traditional Green Labs realm and sustainable labs, but in getting us to think about how we do and fund research differently. So if you don't mind, we'll probably find a way to link to some of your e-modules and reports from our either website or our Circular Economy for Labs community practice website. And then also we'll look forward to seeing more sustainable lab initiatives coming out of the Netherlands, because I think they're going to be an inspiration to us all. So thank you very much, and congratulations on your award. So with that, we will wrap up with our Phil Werdzik Emerging Leader Award. And that is, as I think everybody knows, our founder, Phil Werdzik, who unfortunately passed away rather suddenly in 2021, was a real inspiration to us all. He brought people together, and he really kind of got us all inspired and thinking about how to make our labs better. And so we have an award named for him. The overall Phil Werdzik Leadership Award went to Kathy Ramirez of the University of Colorado Boulder Green Labs program this year. But we also like to recognize folks who are kind of emerging on the scene and really kind of taking Green Labs and sustainable labs by storm, and sort of inspiring others, and not just in their own organizations, but outside of and in their field. So that is why we gave the award for the Phil Werdzik Emerging Leader this year to Andrew King from AstraZeneca. Andrew is the Director of Safety, Health, and Environmental Lead for Global Quality at AstraZeneca. He leads the company's My Green Lab program certification efforts, and they've got nearly 100 labs certified already through My Green Lab. He also encourages efficient cold storage in AstraZeneca's labs, because AstraZeneca has received the Top Organization Award from the International Freezer Challenge as a result of his efforts. So I'm going to ask Andrew to come on and bring his presentation up and tell us a little bit more about what he's done, not just at AstraZeneca, but also because he's been working in the pharmaceutical industry to encourage sustainable lab work. So congratulations, Andrew, on being the Phil Werdzik Emerging Leader this year.
Yeah, thanks, Kathleen. Really appreciate the intro. It's not often that I'm embarrassed, but in this instance, I am. I was honoured to have been nominated, and very much humbled to have been awarded, especially with that introduction. So thank you all very much. However, I cannot take credit for any of the work I've that we've achieved, it's all down to the efforts of the scientists. Everything we have done has been driven by the teams, and I'm just the individual that keeps the wheels on the bus, so to speak, and trying to steer the ship towards creating that culture of sustainability. And it's fantastic to hear all of the initiatives that the other teams have shared, because I'm already familiar with some of the programs that the Netherlands team have been talking about, because we leverage everything internally and externally to create a culture of sustainability across our labs. And what I'm going to take the next 10 minutes to do is actually just share with you what we've done and how we've done it. Because in this space, there is no competition. We're all driving for the same agenda. And within AstraZeneca, this is actually our corporate motto. It's to build a more sustainable future for people, society, and the planet. It's actually embedded into our organizational DNA. But the problem with it is that sustainability is such a huge topic. It's very difficult for us to digest. So what we've done internally is we've actually created a plan to break it down into manageable work streams. So we are seeking to create value beyond the impact of our medicines and embed this into all aspects, from the lab bench through to the patients. And we do this by looking at environmental protection, ethics and transparency, and our access to healthcare, effectively creating a holistic approach to sustainability. With that, we literally work to put sustainability at the forefront of our team's minds. So it does not matter whether or not you're in research development, whether you're in quality control, clinical innovation, or any part of our supply chain. The idea is that we think sustainably from conception to delivery to our patients. And it's not often that I will read a quote out. However, in this instance, Pam Cheng, our EVP for Global Operations and our Chief Sustainability Officer, puts it best, that we think about sustainability holistically. It's how we build a healthier future for people, society, and the planet. It's a broad definition, but it needs to be, because achieving a healthier, more sustainable future requires tackling the biggest challenges of our time, from climate change and biodiversity loss to health equity and health system resilience, and doing so in a way that's ethical, transparent, and inclusive. What I love about this is that it's showing that our senior leaders are driving sustainability and not only empowering us to think sustainably, but giving us the tools and the freedom to do so. And that's where we've had success within our lab spaces. The problem, though, that we were faced is how do we actually embed sustainability into our laboratories? Not because we don't want to, but for anyone on the call that works within a lab environment or a large organization or a large academic institution, you probably have some of the same challenges as us. We have hundreds of labs across multiple sites in a plethora of countries with thousands of scientists doing things in different ways, different processes, different equipment, different standard ways of working, different cultures, and different challenges, from the resource-rich sites that we have in Macclesfield in the UK that has a plethora of water on a daily basis, to our water-scarce sites in Egypt that really struggle. So how do we embed sustainability as an organization when there isn't a standard that we can leverage? So we thought about this in a slightly different way. And instead of us and people in my role telling people what to do and mandating new initiatives and trainings, we put the onus on the scientists. We proactively engaged our scientists to think of ways that they could identify, deliver, and drive change in a sustainable way. So our program is all about empowerment and engagement of our staff to make sure the workplace is sustainable, to create a culture that uplifts and reinforces that focus, and provide them with tools to identify and mitigate risks and opportunities on an ongoing basis. And therein have pieces of brilliance throughout the organization that allow us to use data from their deliverables and their programs to identify themes and trends, and therefore initiatives that can deliver impactful success. What this actually has meant for us as an organization is that we've created a gamified sustainability engagement initiative where we set challenges linked to resource reductions and smart goals around it that we track at an enterprise level. We've used low-cost, no-cost initiatives and digital tools to empower our scientists to drive technological advancements and eliminate waste proactively. We've used proactive inspections for our teams to go and process confirm opportunities and look for where we have opportunity to eliminate waste and where we can put in new processes, technologies to get rid of some of our outdated modalities. A good example of this is where we're currently looking to replace our HPLCs with UPLCs, because we know they're more efficient, faster, use less solvents, and are cheaper to run and require less energy. So benefit from a business acumen perspective, but also a natural resource one. And leveraging our continuous improvement tools, such as green Kaizens, to go and optimize a process and eliminate waste, whether that be time to drive down our cost of goods and therefore make our medicines more accessible, or physical waste. And then we're leveraging external tools such as the I2SL Freezer Challenge and My Green Lab certification to celebrate our success. What that's meant for us, and I won't dwell on the Green Labs process too much because I'm sure most people on this call are very familiar, is that we've created a framework of competition internally and used the Green Lab certification process to engage with our organization, taking them through a baseline assessment to identify opportunities, implement changes linked to our initiatives, and then achieve a certification, and then compete with other sites, other organizations, and other labs to continually improve and find those opportunities. What that's meant to us, quite simply, is a huge culture of sustainability across our organization. We've engaged with more than 4,000 colleagues by asking them to partake. We've reduced our energy utilization, our waste management, our water, all of our resources. We've avoided bringing consumables into our sites and starting to look towards scope 3 benefits. And we've had a lot of success in the certification space with My Green Labs. What that's looked like is the highest number of completed assessments than any other organization in any industry, highest percentage engagement and completion of the certification program than anyone else, and the highest number of certifications at the highest level than any other company presently working with Green Labs. And we've won a few accolades around it. But all of this has been driven by listening to the voice of the scientist and empowering them to drive change. Whilst we've had a lot of success with this, the story so far is quite positive, but we want to share this with other organizations, other industries, and drive change beyond our organization. So we're now encouraging our suppliers and our other partners to take on new sustainability initiatives like Converge, which is linked to Green Labs and the Green Labs mindset, to focus on sustainability and drive proactive change, as opposed to reacting to failures. And with this, we're currently in the process of going live with the My Green Lab 2.0 certification, which is all about increasing the maturity of that sustainability assessment. So moving from just assessing the engagement and the knowledge of our scientists to quantifying the impact that their behaviors have and assessing the actions that they have to create a true reflection of the culture of sustainability in our organization. What this looks like is a certification that shows us the engagement and the knowledge and awareness of our staff and our scientists, but also the value of their behaviors. And it shows us the return of investment from a waste perspective, but also from a cost perspective. So it's justifying the engagement and giving our scientists tangible return of investment from their actions. Because the first question we often get is, if I do this, will it truly have an impact? And in short, the answer is yes. So this example is from our very small pilot lab in Gaithersburg that we did at the end of last year, had 25 scientists, give or take, and we achieved a score of 77% with a potential of 99 and eliminated 16.3 tons of carbon just from our behaviors. And that was our first iteration. And when you think that some of our labs have up to 300 people in, the potential benefit of this is huge. So whilst it's fantastic to have been recognized for the award, truly it is the scientists that have driven all of these initiatives. And it's just a privilege to work with such an inspired group. I'm sure Kathleen's going to stop me any second because of the time. So I will pause there and hand it over to Kathleen for any questions that you may have for myself or the other speakers. But I'd like to thank you again for the recognition.
That's great, Andrew. Thank you. I'm just going to remind people you can put questions in the chat or there is a Q&A box you can use. So if anyone has any questions for Andrew about his work or AstraZeneca, please let us know. I have one actually. I think, Andrew, you've been fairly humble about your own efforts, but it is a team effort, as you say, at AstraZeneca. What kinds of things do you do to engage scientists who might have other priorities or skeptical? Do you have any sort of behavior change or inspirational things that you've done at your company?
I mean, the first thing we do that has always had success is we ask them why. What's the blocker? Why is it they're not engaging? And more often than not, it's time or not understanding how simple some of the behavioral changes can do. So education is a huge piece. And the team from the Netherlands actually articulated it very well. If you explain the value of the journey, you get more people going along it. And that's pretty much what we've done. And because it's embedded into our organizational goals and it's encouraged as best practice, we're often pushing against an open door. The one thing that we've managed to do is engage with the right stakeholders at the right levels and give them tools that enable them to drive it, and gamifying it to create a culture that is all about competition, success, and doing the right thing for people, society, and the planet has just made it very simple for us.
Great. And it sounds like that's like you said, an overall organizational priority for AstraZeneca. Do you feel like the rest of the pharmaceutical industry is getting there, or are there things that we could be doing to encourage biopharma to get on board and to be leaders too?
I mean, selfishly, I'm going to say they're getting there, but not at the same pace as AstraZeneca. But
Sure.
I think if you ask any other company, they'd probably say the same. The one thing I would say is that as an industry, we're getting there. You're seeing global initiatives where we're all aligned, like Converge or the Sustainable Markets Initiative or Energize, where organizations are coming together to challenge our suppliers, our vendors to think sustainably. So we're moving, but the question is, are we moving at a fast enough pace? So for me, it's really key that we engage everyone and we show them the value of our initiatives, not just from a natural resource perspective, but from a time saving and from a cost saving perspective. Because whilst we're quite mature in our approach to sustainability, other vendors aren't, and they may not have access to the information. So letting them see the benefits from multiple facets is really beneficial.
Sure. Efficiency benefits everyone and not just the planet, but we could use that too. Well, thank you so much, Andrew. And again, congratulations to all of our winners. We both appreciate that you're participating with I2SL, even if you couldn't come to our conference and keeping your Scope 3 footprint down because of your not traveling. We'd love to be able to hear from you. For those interested in more international perspectives, we will have a virtual International Education Week currently scheduled for April 7 through 11, 2025. So we'll look to hear from more of these leaders, as well as some folks in the US who can talk about some of the efforts we have going on here. So thank you to everyone. And we will hold our Sustainable Lab Awards program in 2025 as well. So if you've got things going on that you'd like to be recognized for, please participate. And thanks all.